Hey there, fellow knowledge seekers, and welcome to the Deep Dive. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. And while you're at it, go ahead and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of our future deep dives.
Right.
Okay, so today we're tackling a topic that's crucial for anyone interested in environmental issues in India. And yes, that includes you, aspiring UPSC candidates.
Absolutely.
We're diving deep into Indian conservation measures.
That's right.
A fascinating world of strategies and initiatives aimed at safeguarding the country's incredible biodiversity.
Yes.
Think tigers, elephants, lush forests, sparkling rivers, the whole natural shebang.
And it's not just about protecting pristine wilderness either.
Right.
These initiatives touch upon everything from community engagement and sustainable development to cutting-edge technology and international collaborations.
Exactly. It's a multifaceted approach that's both impressive and, let's be honest, a little daunting to grasp at first.
Yeah.
But that's where we come in, right?
Yes.
We're going to break down this complex topic into bite-sized pieces.
Right.
Starting with the fundamental approaches to conservation. In situ and ex situ.
Yes.
Then exploring the different types of protected areas.
Okay.
And finally, delving into some of the key national plans and initiatives driving conservation efforts forward.
Sounds good. Let's get started with the basics, the different approaches to conservation. You've probably heard the terms in situ and ex situ thrown around, but what do they actually mean?
Well, as I understand it, in situ conservation is all about protecting species within their natural habitats.
Right.
Think of it as preserving the whole ecosystem, not just individual species.
Yes.
Our sources mention national parks, wildlife sanctuaries, even those sacred groves that are deeply intertwined with cultural practices. It's about recognizing the intricate web of life that exists in these areas.
Right on. And then we have ex situ conservation, which involves protecting species outside of their natural habitats.
Yeah.
Zoos and botanical gardens immediately spring to mind. But technology plays a huge role here, too. Think of things like seed banks, cryopreservation, and tissue culture. All these tools help preserve genetic diversity, especially for critically endangered species.
It's like a backup plan for nature, right?
Yeah.
But why do we need both? Why not just focus on protecting species in their natural homes?
Because unfortunately, it's not always that simple.
Right.
Habitat loss, poaching, climate change, these factors can make in situ conservation incredibly challenging.
Yeah.
That's where ex situ conservation steps in. It's a lifeline allowing us to protect vulnerable species until their natural habitats can be restored, or in some cases to maintain genetic diversity for potential future reintroduction programs.
That makes a lot of sense. It's like having a savings account and an emergency fund, both essential for long-term financial security.
Precisely. Both in situ and ex situ conservation are vital for the long-term health of biodiversity. They complement each other, forming a comprehensive strategy for protecting India's natural heritage.
Okay, so we've got our two main conservation approaches: safeguarding species within their natural environments and creating safe havens outside of them.
Right.
But how does this translate into action on the ground? That's where protected areas come in, right?
Absolutely. The Wildlife Protection Act of 1972 lays the foundation for a diverse network of protected areas across India, each with its own unique purpose and level of protection. And it's not just about national parks, as you might think.
That's what surprised me. Our sources mention a whole spectrum of protected areas, each with its own set of rules and regulations.
Yes.
It's a bit overwhelming, to be honest.
Let's break it down then.
Okay.
We have wildlife sanctuaries, which are primarily focused on protecting specific species or their habitats. Then there are national parks, which receive a higher level of protection and prioritize the preservation of entire ecosystems. The difference lies in the degree of human activity allowed within each area.
So national parks are generally stricter when it comes to human interaction.
That's right. And then we have conservation reserves and community reserves, which are all about involving local communities in conservation efforts. This collaborative approach is becoming increasingly crucial, recognizing that conservation works best when people have a stake in it.
Right.
And of course, we can't forget tiger reserves, specially designated to protect our iconic Bengal tiger.
It's incredible how much thought and effort goes into classifying and managing these protected areas.
It is.
It's a complex system, but it seems well designed to address the diverse conservation needs across India.
Absolutely. And there are key players overseeing these protected areas.
Okay.
For instance, the National Board of Wildlife, they have a crucial role in providing central oversight and ensuring that these areas are managed effectively. Then we have the National Tiger Conservation Authority, which coordinates tiger conservation efforts across the country.
So there's a lot of teamwork involved.
Right.
Yeah, it's not just about designating areas on a map. It's about ongoing management, monitoring, and collaboration between various agencies and communities.
You got it. It's a dynamic and ever-evolving process, just like the ecosystems themselves. And that brings us to the next level of our deep dive, exploring some of the key national plans and initiatives that are putting these conservation strategies into action.
Yes, let's get into the nitty-gritty of how India is tackling this complex challenge.
One of the cornerstones of India's conservation efforts is the National Wildlife Action Plan. This comprehensive framework, developed by the Ministry of Environment, Forest, and Climate Change, lays out the country's vision and strategies for wildlife conservation. And here's what's interesting. India is currently on its third National Wildlife Action Plan, covering the period from 2017 to 2031.
3 action plans. That's quite a commitment. What makes this third plan stand out?
This latest plan is especially noteworthy because it explicitly recognizes the looming threat of climate change to wildlife. It's a recognition that conservation efforts need to adapt to the changing realities of our planet. So it's not just about protecting species from traditional threats like poaching and habitat loss, but also about understanding and mitigating the impacts of climate change.
That's a huge step forward. It shows that India is taking a long-term and holistic approach to conservation, considering the interconnectedness of environmental issues.
Absolutely. And this focus on the bigger picture is reflected in many of India's other conservation initiatives as well. For instance, there's the National Afforestation and Eco-Development Board, which focuses on restoring degraded forest lands and promoting afforestation.
Right.
They pay particular attention to ecologically fragile areas like the Western Himalayas, the Arar Valleys, and the Western Ghats, recognizing the vital role these ecosystems play in the country's ecological health.
It's great that they're targeting those critical areas, but restoration is a long and arduous process, isn't it? It's not just about planting trees, it's about restoring entire ecosystems.
You're absolutely right, and that's where community engagement becomes essential. The Joint Forest Management Program recognizes this, empowering local communities to participate in the management and protection of nearby forests. It's based on the understanding that people are more likely to protect what they have a stake in.
It's that win-win approach we were talking about earlier, benefiting both people and the planet. Are there any specific examples of how this has worked in India?
Absolutely. The program's collaboration with the Maldari nomadic tribe near Gir National Park in Gujarat has actually contributed to an increase in the lion population.
Oh.
By involving the Maldaris in conservation efforts, providing them with alternative livelihoods, and recognizing their traditional knowledge, the program has helped to reduce human-wildlife conflict and create a more harmonious relationship between people and lions.
That's a fantastic example of how community-based conservation can achieve tangible results. It's about finding solutions that work for both people and wildlife. Okay, what other innovative approaches is India taking to protect its natural resources?
Well, here's one that might surprise you, the National Bamboo Mission.
Bamboo. I never thought of bamboo as a key player in conservation. What's so special about it?
Bamboo is actually an incredibly versatile and sustainable resource. The National Bamboo Mission was launched in 2006-07 to promote the holistic growth of the bamboo sector. It aims to increase the area under bamboo plantation, not just in forests, but also on private and government land. It's about recognizing the economic and environmental potential of bamboo and harnessing it for sustainable development.
So it's not just about protecting existing bamboo forests, it's about actively promoting bamboo cultivation. That's an interesting strategy.
It is. Bamboo is fast-growing, requires minimal water and fertilizer, and can be used for a wide range of purposes: construction, furniture, textiles, even biofuel. It's a true powerhouse for sustainable development, especially in rural areas where it can provide livelihoods and income.
It's a brilliant example of how conservation and economic development can go hand in hand. It's not an either-or proposition. It's about finding solutions that benefit both people and the planet. What other initiatives along these lines has India implemented?
Well, you might be surprised to learn that India has been promoting eco-friendly products since 1991, even before the 1992 Rio summit.
Really? Tell me more. What kind of initiatives are we talking about?
It's called the Eco Mark. It's a voluntary labeling scheme that helps consumers identify environmentally friendly products.
Okay.
Administered by the Bureau of Indian Standards, the Ecomark serves as a stamp of approval for products that meet specific environmental standards, covering everything from their raw material sourcing and manufacturing processes to their packaging and waste disposal.
So it's about giving consumers the power to make informed choices, supporting businesses that are doing their part to protect the environment.
Exactly. The Ecomark is all about raising consumer awareness and promoting a shift towards more sustainable consumption patterns. It's a gentle nudge in the right direction, encouraging both businesses and consumers to consider the environmental impact of their choices. And speaking of empowering communities and individuals, there's also the Biodiversity Conservation and Rural Livelihood Improvement Project.
Okay, that's quite a mouthful. Break it down for me. What is the Biodiversity Conservation and Rural Livelihood Improvement Project all about?
It's a project assisted by the World Bank and implemented by state governments across India. The goal is to conserve biodiversity in selected landscapes, including protected areas, and to improve rural livelihoods through community participation. It's a model for sustainable development that integrates conservation with the well-being of local communities.
I see a pattern here. It seems like a lot of India's conservation initiatives are shifting away from a top-down approach and embracing community-based solutions.
You're spot on. There's a growing recognition that conservation efforts are more effective and sustainable when local communities are actively involved. After all, they're the ones who live closest to nature and have a deep understanding of their local ecosystems.
It makes perfect sense. Engage the people who are most affected, and you're more likely to create lasting change. But it's not just about empowering communities, is it? India is also tackling some serious environmental challenges head-on. Tell me about some of the initiatives aimed at addressing pollution, a major issue in many parts of the country.
Well, one of the key tools in India's fight against pollution is the Comprehensive Environmental Pollution Index. Developed in 2009 by the Central Pollution Control Board in collaboration with IIT Delhi, the Comprehensive Environmental Pollution Index provides a scientific and data-driven approach to assessing environmental quality at specific locations.
Okay.
It assigns a numerical score based on various pollution parameters, helping to identify pollution hotspots and prioritize interventions.
So it's like a pollution report card for different locations, giving policymakers a clear picture of where the problems are most acute.
That's a great analogy. And this data-driven approach is proving to be very effective in identifying and addressing pollution hotspots across India.
It's about moving beyond anecdotal evidence and gut feelings and using hard data to guide decision-making. That's a smart move. But what about solutions? Is India just measuring pollution, or are they actively doing something about it?
Oh, they're definitely taking action. And one of the initiatives that stands out for its simplicity and impact is Lighting a Billion Lives. Launched in 2007 by TIRI, the Energy and Resources Institute, Lighting a Billion Lives aims to replace kerosene lamps in rural areas with cleaner, more efficient, and reliable solar lighting devices.
That's what I call thinking outside the box. It's not just about reducing emissions, it's about improving people's lives. Imagine the difference a simple solar lamp can make in a rural community: better health, improved safety, more time for studying or working.
Exactly. And Lighting a Billion Lives is a fantastic example of how a relatively simple solution can have a huge impact. It's about recognizing that access to clean energy is a fundamental human right and a key driver of sustainable development. And speaking of clean energy, India is also taking major strides in promoting renewable energy sources.
That's right. I've been hearing a lot about India's solar energy boom. What role is the government playing in this transition to a cleaner energy future?
Well, one of the key initiatives is the National Clean Energy Fund, established in 2010-11. This non-lapsable fund uses revenue from a carbon tax to finance research and innovative projects in clean energy technologies.
So they're essentially using polluters' money to invest in a cleaner future. That's poetic justice.
It is. And the fund is open to both public and private sector projects, encouraging collaboration and innovation in the clean energy sector.
It sounds like India is taking a multi-pronged approach to transitioning to a low-carbon economy. From promoting clean energy to tackling pollution to empowering communities, they're addressing the issue from various angles.
Absolutely. And it's not just about focusing on the land. They're also paying attention to coastal ecosystems, recognizing their vital role in maintaining ecological balance and protecting communities from the impacts of climate change.
Oh yes, we briefly touched upon the Mangroves for the Future initiative earlier. Tell me more about that. Why are mangroves so important, and how is India working to protect them?
Mangroves are like nature's superheroes when it comes to coastal protection. They act as natural barriers against storms and erosion. Their tangled roots help stabilize shorelines, and they provide vital habitats for a wide range of marine life.
It's like they're a shield for the coast, protecting both people and nature from the wrath of the ocean.
Exactly. And they also play a crucial role in mitigating climate change.
Oh, wow.
Mangrove forests are incredibly efficient at absorbing and storing carbon dioxide, making them valuable allies in our fight against global warming.
Right.
Mangroves for the Future, established in 2006, brings together countries from across South Asia, including India, to share knowledge, resources, and best practices for mangrove conservation and restoration. It's a testament to the power of regional cooperation in addressing shared environmental challenges.
It's inspiring to see countries coming together to protect these vital ecosystems. It's a reminder that environmental challenges often transcend borders and require collaborative solutions.
Couldn't agree more. And this collaborative spirit is evident in many of India's conservation initiatives, from community-based forest management to international partnerships for clean energy development. It's a recognition that we're all in this together, and we need to work together to create a more sustainable future.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground already, and I'm already feeling inspired by the scope and ingenuity of India's conservation efforts. But we're not done yet. Stay tuned for part 2, where we'll continue exploring even more fascinating initiatives and delve deeper into the impact of these efforts.
Welcome back to our deep dive into Indian conservation measures. We just scratched the surface of India's multifaceted approach to protecting its natural heritage,
Yeah,
exploring diverse strategies from community-based conservation to high-tech solutions.
you're right. There's so much more to uncover. Before we move on, though, I'd love to circle back to something you mentioned earlier, electric vehicles. It seems like India is really pushing for cleaner transportation options.
Yes.
What's the driving force behind this shift?
It's a combination of factors, actually. Reducing emissions is a major goal, of course, but there's also a strong economic and strategic motivation. India imports a huge amount of fossil fuels, and the National Electric Mobility Mission Plan 2020 aims to reduce this dependence by promoting the adoption and manufacturing of electric vehicles within India.
That makes a lot of sense. It's about creating a more sustainable transportation system that benefits both the environment and the economy.
Exactly. And to make this transition a reality, the government is offering financial incentives, promoting charging infrastructure, and even encouraging research and development in electric vehicle technology. They're pulling out all the stops to make electric vehicles a viable option for Indian consumers.
It sounds like they're really committed to this transition. Okay, so we've talked about protected areas, national plans, community-driven initiatives, clean energy, and even transportation. What other pieces of the conservation puzzle are we missing?
There are so many initiatives, it's hard to cover them all. But one that stands out for its impact and the unique challenges it addresses is the work being done to protect India's incredible mangrove forests.
Oh, yes, mangroves. We briefly touched upon them earlier, mentioning the Mangroves for the Future initiative. But I'd love to dive a little deeper. Why are mangroves so crucial for India, and what makes them so special?
Think of mangroves as nature's coastal guardians. They're these incredible trees that thrive in saltwater, forming dense forests along coastlines, estuaries, and deltas. Their tangled roots act like a natural barrier, protecting coastlines from erosion, buffering the impact of storms, and even tsunamis. They're like a living shield for coastal communities.
That's an image that really sticks with you. A living shield protecting both people and ecosystems. But it's not just about protection, is it? There's more to mangroves than meets the eye.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They're also teeming with life. Their intricate root systems provide shelter and breeding grounds for a vast array of fish, crabs, birds, and other marine creatures. Mangrove forests are biodiversity hotspots, supporting a whole web of life that's crucial for the health of coastal ecosystems.
Wow, so they're multi-talented ecosystems protecting coastlines, supporting biodiversity, and let's not forget their role in mitigating climate change.
Right, you're hitting all the key points. Mangrove forests are incredibly efficient at absorbing and storing carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, making them valuable allies in our fight against global warming. And that's why initiatives like Mangroves for the Future are so important.
Mangroves for the Future, that's the one that brings together countries across South Asia, right?
Yes, it's a collaborative effort between governments, NGOs, and research institutions from Bangladesh, Cambodia, India, Indonesia, Maldives, Myanmar, Pakistan, Seychelles, Sri Lanka, Thailand, and Vietnam. It's a testament to the power of regional cooperation in addressing shared environmental challenges.
It's heartening to see countries coming together to protect these vital ecosystems. It's a reminder that environmental challenges often transcend borders and require collective action.
Couldn't agree more. And this spirit of collaboration is at the heart of another initiative we discussed earlier, the National Afforestation and Eco-Development Board.
Right, the National Afforestation and Eco-Development Board, they're the ones focused on restoring degraded lands and promoting afforestation. What